We have a quorum, so why don't you jump off? I know you wanted to change the order of people, so why don't you just tell us who you'd like to hear from first?
Yeah, thanks for having us in. I know you've got very limited time, so I'm not going to say much. I'll say something at the end if there's time, but I'll just send it to Elizabeth Bridgewater from the Wyndham and Wizard Housing Trust.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, good morning. Thanks everybody for having us here. I'm excited to provide testimony on the importance of investing in housing this year. I think when the pandemic struck, something that we always knew came into very sharp focus, and that's that our individual well-being is tied to the well-being of everybody in our communities. And having a decent and affordable place to live is the very foundation of our collective health. I want to thank you all for the critical role that you played in responding to these extraordinary events last year, and particularly in ensuring that a portion of the CARES Act funding was used to serve Vermont's most vulnerable community members. The heroic efforts of Vermont legislators, state funders, housing organization, and homelessness advocates aligned so beautifully last year. And I'm really proud of the impact that we've made in such a short period of time. And this came on the heels of the successful deployment of the Housing Revenue Bond, which solidified the effective partnership with VHCB and its local partners to create housing opportunities throughout the state. The governor, in his budget proposal, is asking VHCB to play another central role in deploying new resources to increase housing opportunities. And I'm here in part to ask you to support the governor's budget proposal for $34.8 million in funding for VHCB this year, and also to encourage you to keep those allocation of funds flexible. The leadership at VHCB's got a strong track record in working closely with community stakeholders and Vermont organizations to identify and prioritize community needs. One example is a grant that we received to purchase and rehab the Dahlem Chalet in West Brattleboro. This Bavarian-style motel was built in the 1960s by a German immigrant couple named Oscar and Ursula Dahlem, and was sold to the Housing Trust by Mrs. Dahlem, who's a widow, now in her 90s. She was still running the property as sort of a hybrid operation with a mixture of extended stay tenants and short-term tourists. The property has 17 acres and a total of 36 housing units, which include an original farmhouse, a 28-room motel, and an annex building with 7 apartments. Mrs. Dahlem, in our agreement, is actually still living at the motel in one of the motel suites, and the remaining 27 motel rooms have been repurposed to provide long-term housing for folks who had been living temporarily in motels as part of the short-term pandemic response. This initiative, now simply called the Chalet, is modeled after an evidence-based approach that has proven to end homelessness and is building upon our successful collaboration with Groundworks Collaborative, who will provide on-site supportive services to the residents. The Housing Trust bought the property in late September, and in the following very short 3 months, completed a scope of work that included installing fire suppression, bringing electrical systems up to code, replacing doors and windows, and installing a new heat system. There's a beautiful commercial kitchen as part of the property, and we completely renovated that. That'll be used to host community meals, both with the residents and with the broader community who's very interested in engaging with this project. It'll also be the site of a food shelf for the residents. The Chalet, with its 27 new supportive services homes, is just one example of VHCB funding meeting urgent community needs. We obviously need to do more, and the funding proposal in the governor's budget comes at a critical time. Our housing system is being squeezed right now. We've got continued extraordinarily low vacancy rates. With the pandemic, we've got a lot of out-of-state buyers coming up and pushing prices up, and you all know the deferred maintenance on many of the housing infrastructure continues to be a challenging issue. These factors make movement within the housing continuum very challenging, and a lot of people end up stuck in a situation that no longer meets their needs, or they're in substandard housing conditions, or they're just in a situation where they just can't afford their rent. And the most vulnerable Vermonters are the ones that get really squeezed by these dynamics. So new housing can help. And we've got just our One Housing Trust, and I know that many of my colleagues also have robust pipelines, but we've got a lot of projects in our pipeline that could result in about 150 new homes. Like the Chalet, several of them are adaptive reuse projects. Others are new construction. They're all located in village centers, and they're each meeting the unique needs of the towns in which they're located. Our collective ability to meet the needs in solving Vermont's housing crisis depends on the level of investment that the governor has put forth in his budget. So I'll close with just thanking you again for all that you've done and all that you will do, and it really encourage you to support the governor's budget proposal. Thank you.
Michael, may I
Chris-
ask a quick
Chris, who would
question
you
of
like to go
Elizabeth?
next? Thank you, Elizabeth. Who would you like to go next, Chris?
Michael, may I just
Clarkson.
ask a quick question of Elizabeth?
Yes.
Oh, Elizabeth, hi, Allison Clarkson. You said that the chalet has 17 acres. Is that possible for further housing development? I mean, that we could build more units on that property? I mean, that's
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why we were very attracted to this property, because it was going to meet an immediate need, but it has development potential actually to 140 units. Now,
Yeah.
whether or not the community will want that kind of density, I think is a question we need to explore. But it's in a village center, it's on public water and sewer. It has so many of the ingredients that we see for priority housing projects that we're really excited that we've been able to leverage these funds both for immediate need and future needs.
great, thanks.
May I ask you a question, Mr. Chair?
Absolutely.
Elizabeth, can you tell us what the renovation cost was for the work that you did?
Yep,
On
just
this-
about
on the show-
1.1 million.
I'm sorry,
About 1.1 million.
1.1 million. Thank you.
That was for 27 new units?
Yeah, we prorated the budget because some of the units were already occupied and weren't eligible for CARES Act funding. So the overall project was much higher than the CARES Act funding that we were utilizing. But yes, 27 units were renovated with the 1.1 million.
Thanks.
Chris, who would you like to go next?
Jesse Baker from the city of Winooski.
Jesse, welcome.
Oh, hi.
Hi, good morning, Senator Sorokin and the committee. My name is Jesse Baker. I'm the city manager here in Winooski, Vermont, and thank you for the opportunity to address your committee again. I'm here also to support the full funding as the governor has proposed for VHCB, and I'd like to take just a few minutes to talk to you about what such funding has looked like in my community. As you may know, Winooski is the most densely populated city in northern New England and the most diverse city in Vermont. 21% of our residents were born in another country, and we have the only majority minority school district in the state. Our diversity is our greatest strength as a community. Our housing is different than most other communities in Vermont, though. 63% of our neighbors rent, and 69% of those homes are in multi-unit buildings. This renter homeowner breakdown is the exact inverse of the statewide demographic. We also have some of the oldest housing stock in the state, with 45% of our rental units built before 1949. And of course, 43% of our residents live within the 65 DNL sound impact line from the Burlington International Airport and the F-35 bed down. Still, people want to live in Winooski. This year, our CLA dropped below 80%, an almost 9-point decrease in 1 year. At the city council meeting on Tuesday night, the council voted to move forward with the redevelopment of an underutilized site on one of our main gateways into the city, Mallets Bay Ave, for those of you who have been in Winooski. This infill project, in partnership with Champlain Housing Trust, will use an unused parking lot and will bring more than 20 perpetually affordable family-size 3-bedroom condominium units to our community. This is an opportunity for our neighbors to move from a rental option to a home ownership option. This forwards our community master plan goals of activating our gateways, our main entry points into the city, as well as doing transit-oriented smart growth development and meeting our energy goals. CHT has identified an innovative funding model, including the use of new market tax credits to fund the construction of this project and bring these homes to Winooski. The council is specifically excited about the shared equity model of home ownership and the reality that these condos will remain permanently affordable and into the future. CHT has also secured $1.5 million in grant funding from VHCB for this project and will be seeking state tax credits for the project as well. These subsidies are critical to ensuring that the price to the buyer for these 3-bedroom homes stays within the $150,000 to $180,000 purchase price. I'm happy to talk to you more about the condos if you are interested in that, but I want to highlight just one other thing. One of the reasons the city is so excited about this partnership and is actually giving the land to Champlain Housing Trust to develop these homes is that CHT is committed to working with organizations and leaders within the BIPOC community to affirmatively market to refugees, immigrants, and our BIPOC population generally. This will include interpretation, translation, and special homebuyer education workshops. We want to make sure that all of our neighbors feel that there's a path to home ownership in Winooski. I want to encourage the committee that ensure that the committee that Winooski remains firmly committed to being a community where all Vermonters can thrive. This means ensuring housing options across the income spectrum with a focus on providing perpetually affordable home ownership options. We encourage you to approve the VHCB's appropriation of $34.8 million so more communities like mine can have these types of projects come to fruition. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Jesse. Are there any questions for Jesse?
I missed, Jesse, how many units we're talking about?
There will be 20 new homes.
20 new homes, right? On one site, right?
On one site, townhouses and flats.
Great.
Some of the townhouses will have rooftop decks that can see over to the river.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Senator Grom.
I just want to say I love the shared equity homeownership program. Do you already have some shared equity properties? Does this, I know they're scattered throughout the county and the state.
Yes, we do. We have, I believe it's about 60 shared equity homeownership properties in Winooski currently. We certainly are, as evident by this project and others, think that there is a need for more in the city.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Let's not just limit it to Winooski. Other towns with W in them. Yeah.
I want to remind the committee that the genesis of the shared equity home ownership was land continued to be owned by the Burlington Community Land Trust, or CHT, and I actually am very proud to have written the first lease back in the 80s for that program.
Bravo, Mr. Chair, bravo.
Chris, next.
Jacob.
Jacob, welcome.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for having me. My name is Yakuba Jacob Bogre, and I'm the Executive Director of the Association of Africans Living in Vermont, mainly known under AALV. We are a community-based organization located in the old St. Joseph School building, which is now known as the Old North End Community Center. And I will share more about our work later on. I'm here to support the proposed $34.8 million allocation to the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board. As you know, our organization serves mainly underserved groups, individuals who were relocated in Vermont because they came here as refugees. These are men and women who fled their home country, and for most of them, they don't have a home country anymore. The state of Vermont is now what they call home, away from their home countries. The Old North End Community Center was made possible because of a $92,500 grant that the Champlain Housing Trust got to acquire the building a few years ago. And today, This place is home to several organizations, among which our groups, and also 2 wonderful daycare, the Robin Ness Community Center and the Janet Esman Family Room. 2 years ago, the Burlington Park and Rec moved in with the senior center. So nowadays we have these 3 groups that are working closely to serve mainly underserved groups. If you know this area of Burlington, you will know that we have a small United Nation in this area. From one end to the street to the other, you will come across close to 150 nationalities that work and live here with many ethnic stores. And most of these groups are under what we call a low income group, because many are working families that are trying to support and their families. We hope that your continued support into investing into low and affordable housing will help these families sustain their lives and build their families and better life here in Vermont. Our program, as I said earlier, serves many of these groups, and we try to help as much as we can by providing immigration assistance, case management, and also supporting families that have fled domestic violence or have been victims of domestic and sexual assault. And it is our hope that this support will continue to help our group thrive and also support the need of this building. We miss our seniors. A few years ago, until last year before the pandemic hit, we would work closely with them to support the need of the community with tax preparation, for example. This year and last year, we didn't have this opportunity, and many families miss on getting some of the income they could have had through their tax break. And it is our hope that we will continue to support this work with Champlain Housing Trust, invest in affordable housing, so these communities can continue to thrive here in the state of Vermont. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Where are you originally from?
I moved here in 2003, sorry, and I came from Burkina Faso. This is a landlocked country in West Africa.
Do they speak
Ivory Coast, Mali, Niger, Benin, and Togo.
Do they speak French there?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so I want to just say bien fait, but I understand, I just learned that bien fait, it translates literally to well done, but it means just the opposite in French. And you could look it up. It's a very interesting, it's a common mistake made by people learning French, but it means well done in terms of like, you know, you got really sick because you ate too much, and then someone sarcastically says, well done. So
on the other hand, Mr. Chair, bravo means bravo everywhere.
right, bravo.
Bravo, bravo.
Any questions for Jacob? Ram.
Well, first of all, agreed, Mr. Chair. I always felt like in another life, Jacob could have been the president of some country because he does such amazing work. So just really want to express gratitude to him. Jacob, a while back when I was working for the city of Burlington, we started to discover that there was a real homeownership difference between some of the Black immigrant communities, like the Somali Bantu community and the Congolese community, and the Bhutanese Nepali community. And we wanted to explore more about if that was an experience of anti-Black racism and a lack of familiarity with sort of building capital. Are you at AALV still trying to track individual communities' experiences with accessing homeownership as these programs take off?
Yes, and we've worked closely over the past years with CHT to help with home ownership education program. And I can tell you that over the past 3 years, I've seen many African families reaching out to CHT or accessing some of their own home ownership programs. I know at least 5 or 7 families that have purchased homes in Colchester when they redevelop the Winchester Place. And for this upcoming program project in Winooski, we have also reached out to many families that are waiting to sign up for the program. Right now, we had only our first meeting last week with CHT, but I can tell you that today, as of today, we have 12 individuals that sign up so they can at least start the home ownership program classes with CHT, and hopefully they will be on the list for this project. But things are changing, and when folks first come, they would first try to see how they can settle and start thinking about the long term. You know, many of the African countries that came here a few years ago came from war-torn countries. They left with little to nothing, and they lived in many refugee camps. And for those of you who didn't know, the camps in Kakuma or in Tanzania or Gasarwe in Burundi are among the biggest camps in the world. And this is not a place where you can work and support your families. So these families left with nothing and got here with nothing. So it takes more time for them to start rebuilding their life and thinking down the road on how to now have some equity so they can at least have a stable housing. So they would start with renting and move on to home ownership. And I'm glad to see that over the past years, many are now investing some of their income into owning their own place.
Thanks
Great.
for everything you do.
So-
Jake.
Oh,
We're
Yakuba,
gonna have to give you like 2 or 3 minutes because at 11:30 we're on the floor. So if we
it's
move roughly-
11:27 now, Mr. Chair.
Yes. So I'm gonna give Mark 2 minutes and just warn him that we're gonna sign off very
Yeah.
abruptly.
Good luck, Mark.
At 2 minutes, thanks. That's about
All
an
right.
introduction. Hey, I'm Mark Yardley. I'm the Vice President of the Global Omnichannel for Darn Tough. And I'm also one of the founding members, board members of the Vermont Outdoor Business Alliance, VOBA, which represents about 75 outdoor recreation companies. And if I'm kept at 2 minutes, I would say, thank you very much for having me today, and I appreciate the time crunch. I am here to express Darn Tough support for the governor's proposal of the $34.8 million in the fiscal year 2022 for the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board. We also recommend that flexibility be allowed in directing the funds to either housing or conservation purposes in response to community needs. If I keep going, I think we're going to get lost in the middle. So I don't know if you want me to just go and cut me off, or
I really appreciate it. Do the best you can, but. we
okay.
really-
Yeah, and we'll come back at some point. So it's not like this is it forever.
No problem. We know that the VHCB has a proven track record of investing in our communities and our neighbors around the state to provide affordable housing and protect working lands and natural and recreation areas. VHCB funds have resulted in 4-season multi-use trail systems and have ensured access to many places valued for recreation by Vermonters and visitors, including those with different physical abilities. Because VHCB funding also serves as a match for the Land and Water Conservation Fund, increasing funding in the state budget at this time will track the anticipated increase in federal funds due to the passage of the Great American Outdoors Act. Vermont will be in a better position, we believe, to create more local parks, open space, trails, boat launches, and even ball fields. For those of you that know our CEO, Rick Cabot, you know why our business joins other employers in being deeply rooted in the state.
Okay, Mark,
Same-
I'm gonna stay on with you, but if other committee members need to leave, they should do that. So,
I think we need to be on the floor. So
We do.
Mark, more to follow. We look forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And there is written
Love yourself.
testimony online.
okay, thank you, Chris.
Great, thank you.